On January 5, 2024, at 16,000 feet above Oregon, the side of a brand new airplane tore wide open. The decompression was violent and immediate, ripping phones and clothing out into the sky. The subsequent investigation revealed exactly how the door plug separated from the fuselage. It failed because a plane barely 3 months out of the factory was missing 4 critical bolts. For most of the 20th century, Boeing represented the absolute pinnacle of global aerospace engineering. They built the 707 and the 747 jumbo jet, setting the worldwide standard for aviation safety. "If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going," was an industry mantra. Those 4 missing bolts were the logical result of a strategic path Boeing chose 25 years ago. An institution of this size doesn't collapse overnight. It degrades over decades, driven by a conscious set of choices that prioritize financial metrics over physical reality. The shift began in 1997 when Boeing acquired its struggling rival, McDonnell Douglas. The executives who came over brought a philosophy they called hunter-killer. They took control of the company, sidelining the engineers who had run Boeing for decades. Soon after, leadership moved the corporate headquarters away from the factory floors in Seattle to a high-rise in Chicago. The people making decisions about jet safety were now physically and culturally detached from the planes they were building. The strategy relied on one metric: return on net assets, or RONA. By shrinking physical assets, the denominator, returns look higher to Wall Street. Consequently, instead of funding research, Boeing spent $41.5 billion buying back stock, directly inflating share prices and triggering executive bonuses. To further improve that RONA ratio, they spun off their Wichita manufacturing base into a separate company called Spirit AeroSystems. By getting the factories off their own books, they made the quarterly numbers look better. Executives successfully engineered immense personal wealth. By treating airplanes strictly as financial vehicles, they systematically dismantled their ability to oversee quality control and build safe aircraft. In 2011, Airbus introduced the A320neo. It offered incredible fuel efficiency, and airlines immediately started placing massive orders. Inside Boeing, this triggered a severe corporate panic. Designing a genuine clean sheet replacement for Boeing's aging fleet would require a decade and $15 billion. Facing pressure to hit quarterly earnings, leadership chose a cheaper shortcut. They took the 737 airframe, a design dating back to 1968, and decided to strap massive modern engines onto it. This diagram illustrates the physical problem with that shortcut. The larger engines couldn't fit under the old wings, so engineers mounted them higher and further forward. This altered the plane's center of gravity. Under high thrust, it caused the nose to pitch upward, creating a serious stall risk. Rather than spending the money required to physically redesign the plane, Boeing implemented a software system called MCAS. It was designed to secretly force the nose back down, overriding the aerodynamics. They wired that software to rely on a single sensor, directly violating standard aviation redundancy. When those sensors failed on flights in Indonesia and Ethiopia, the software forced the planes into dives the pilots could not override. 346 people died because a boardroom decided that writing a software patch was a more cost-effective solution than honoring the laws of aerodynamics. Inside the factories, the workforce saw the compromises happening in real time. The new corporate culture weaponized schedule pressure, implicitly instructing employees to keep production lines moving and avoid creating problems. Quality engineer John Barnett tested 300 emergency oxygen systems on the 787 production line and found that 25% of them failed. When he reported that 1 in 4 systems would not deploy correctly in a depressurization event, management buried his concerns and moved him to a less critical role. Engineer Sam Salepor later testified before the U.S. Senate about massive carbon fiber fuselage sections arriving with gaps that exceeded design specifications. To keep the line moving, workers used extreme physical force, jumping on the sections to make them fit. This practice, known internally as the Tarzan effect, left microfractures that secretly weakened the airframes. This flowchart shows how that culture of workarounds caused the 2024 Alaska Airlines blowout. When a Spirit AeroSystems crew needed to fix damaged rivets on the door plug, workers physically bypassed the factory's digital tracking system to perform the repair off the books and save time. Because no formal digital ticket was opened for the door removal, the mandatory quality assurance inspection was never triggered. The door plug was reinstalled, the plane moved down the line, and the 4 restraining bolts were simply forgotten. Those who tried to stop these practices faced severe retaliation. Barnett, Salahpour, and quality auditor Joshua Dean faced firing, harassment, and physical threats. Tragically, Barnett and Dean both died before the full story of their warnings could be resolved in court. Missing bolts and structural defects are the inevitable output of a corporation that systematically silences its own safety inspectors to protect the quarterly production schedule. Today, Airbus has a massive backlog of over 8,000 aircraft. They are functionally sold out until the 2030s. Airlines keep their orders with Boeing not out of trust, but because they have zero alternatives to meet global travel demands. The cultural decay spread far beyond commercial aviation. Boeing's defense division took on the KC-46 tanker contract to refuel Air Force jets. Faulty visual guidance systems and design errors have resulted in over $7 billion in internal losses. The space division suffered similar failures. The Starliner mission launched astronauts on an 8-day trip, but thruster malfunctions and helium leaks left the crew stranded on the International Space Station for months, requiring a rescue mission by a competitor. Eventually, the severe drop in manufacturing quality forced Boeing to reverse its original financial strategy. In 2025, they spent $4.7 billion to buy back Spirit AeroSystems, attempting to regain control over the factories they outsourced decades earlier. Sacrificing engineering capability for short-term stock bumps damages the physical product. Ultimately, it also destroys the financial value of the company itself, leaving them carrying $54 billion in debt. The failure originated in a deliberately designed system that rewarded the wrong outcomes. The company's brilliant engineers were simply responding to a corporate structure built to prioritize quarterly metrics over physical safety. If the most heavily regulated and intensely scrutinized industry on Earth can operate this way for a quarter of a century, we have to ask what is happening elsewhere. What decisions are being made inside companies manufacturing our cars, processing our food, and developing our medicines? Whenever financial spreadsheets are permitted to design the machines we trust with our lives, the true cost will eventually be paid in blood.